Right, let's record now. And over to you to say a few words of Torah. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to, as always, thank Stephen, who actually is not away this week. It's nice to see you here. And I want to thank him for all the work he does in arranging this. It is certainly appreciated by me. I don't know about others, but I think it's a pleasure and privilege to be here with you, as always. And I was actually thinking that there is a yeshiva in Yerushalayim called Yeshiva's Rabbi Akiva, where they have a yeshiva established for those people over 40 years old. And they spend all day now learning, people dropping in. They say it actually saves marriages with all these people who've retired. They can suddenly get out and learn in a positive way, rather than staying at home and driving their partners mad. So there are positives. So maybe there's an idea for Stephen to extend. I was going to speak about the whole idea of Yaakov lifting up his feet and becoming more proactive, but Rabbi Avi beat me to it yesterday evening. So I want to pick on something different that I think is slightly problematic for me, and let's see if way we work through the Chumash, if we can understand it in a different way. When we think about dreamers in the Torah, we always immediately think about Yosef. But of course, in this week's parasha, we have Yaakov, and we have Yaakov's famous dream of the ladder stretching towards Shemayim, towards heaven. Now, on the morning after the dream, Yaakov, as we know, renames the location Bethel. And he then makes a very peculiar comment, very peculiar vow. He says, V'yata Yaakov neder le'amor, im yiyeh Elokim imadi. If Hashem will be with me, protecting me on this journey, reading from the current Chumash, protecting me on this journey I'm taking, giving me bread to eat and clothes to wear, and if I return in peace to my father's house, then Hashem li le'elokim, Hashem will be my God. If I return, if everything happens, Hashem will be my God. Now, the way I read that, if you read it through carefully, is it's actually making his connection with Hashem conditional upon material gain. If Hashem does all these things for me, then Hashem will be my God. Now, how can that be? How on earth can Yaakov be saying that only Hashem will be his God if conditions are met? And it reminded me of a situation almost when I was at school. I remember a particular time when 14-year-old, we were told one day by our German master that the following day we'd be having a massive German test. And all of us looked aghast. How on earth were we going to cope with this German test the following day? Because we had so much other homework. We protested to the master, and he said, no, you're having this test tomorrow. So we took it upon ourselves, a group of boys, some were Jewish, some were non-Jewish, Catholic, all sorts of religions, to say, we're going to pray that we don't have this test tomorrow. And it's almost like saying that if we didn't have this test, and interesting enough, we didn't have the test, and that had a dramatic effect on all of us and our relationship to religion, that the test, but it was saying, if we don't have this test, then we're going to believe in God. And as I said, it had a massive effect on all of us when the test was cancelled. Even more so as, unfortunately, the master actually had a heart attack and passed away, and it left a whole class devastated. We're just also, I must tell you this, the teachers in the school couldn't understand why it had this impact on this. Were we so close to him, we were doing, but we all felt so guilty. Every one of us felt so guilty that we were involved in passing this away. Anyhow, but what happens here? What on earth is going on? And actually, to compound the problem with Yaakov in this instance, is that Hashem had already given him a promise. Hashem had already said that he's going to be with him. He's going to guard him wherever he goes, a few pasukim earlier. And Hashem says, I will return you to this land, a few pasukim earlier. Why on earth does Yaakov seem to question it? And there have been a number of approaches and suggestions from the Rabbonim over the years. There is a medrash that says, well, it wasn't chronological. What happened was that he made it conditional, and then Hashem says, don't worry, I'm going to be with you. But the Torah doesn't like things going out of order. They really fight against it. So let's see if there's another way to see if we can understand it. The most common approach is saying it's not actually conditional. We're misunderstanding it. It's actually not a conditional vow. It's a promise from Yaakov saying, if I'm given the opportunity, this is what I promise to do. And that's the approach really adopted by Rashi. Because Rashi correlates each of Yaakov's requests to Hashem as corresponding to promises that he was given in the dream about the ladder. And all Yaakov is doing is saying how I'm going to respond to all of those things. And Yaakov's statement, if Hashem will be with me, Rashi says, relates to the earlier promise given to Avraham that he will be Hashem to him and his children. So by recording that page, Rashi says that Hashem is actually praying that Hashem's name will rest on him and upon his children, and that he will actually have good children going afterwards. But there is a very different approach adopted by Ramban, and I think Ramban is underappreciated, understudied, and certainly is an area that I think we need to consider. Ramban actually interprets the phrase, Hashem will be my God, this whole idea, not as part of Yaakov's requests, but actually as a realization. As a result of Hashem's promise to return Yaakov to the land of Israel, Yaakov now understands that a complete relationship with Hashem can only be experienced in the land of Israel. That's what he's saying. A complete relationship with Hashem, says Ramban, can only be experienced within the land of Israel. And that's why Yaakov says, and I will return in peace to the home of my father, and and Hashem will be my God. Only once I return to the land will Hashem fully be my God. Yaakov is not placing conditions, says Rambam, on his belief in God. He's saying that he understands the truth. A Jew can only be complete with Hashem within the land of Israel. How does Ramban get to this? Well, he bases it on a Gemara in Ketubot, which says very clearly that everyone who lives outside the land of Israel, it's as if they have no God. Think about that. Everyone, according to the Gemara in Ketubot, anyone who lives outside the land of Israel, it's as if they had no God. And Ramban's approach here is actually consistent with what he did. He changed his entire life. He was age 73 when he packed up and moved to Israel, because he realized at that stage in his life that you can't be complete with your observance of Shabbat, your observance of mezuzah, tefillin, or anything until you live within the land of Israel. And that is what he did. Now, maybe, again, we can take that a little bit further and interpret Yaakov's words as saying, I will return in peace to the home of my father, not as a request, but as the first of his promises. Yaakov's first commitment was, I'm going away, but I'm going to come back to Israel. Now, that is not as easy as it sounds. It's not as easy as people saying, I've studied for a year or two in Israel, I'm going to go back. It's a little bit more complex, particularly for Yaakov. And I think to understand this, we need to go back to Yaakov's dream and think about Yaakov's dream. Now, put yourself for a moment in Yaakov's shoes, moments before he had that vision. There you are. You've put yourself to bed in the night. It's dark. You're scared. You're scared of the unknown. You're scared of being there on your own. You're scared about the fact that Esav, your brother, you think is going to kill you, may be coming after you. But you actually harbor within yourself an even deeper fear. Because you live in a time where gods with a small g are considered territorial. You may be thinking that if you leave your land, You're going to leave your God behind you. And now you standing really on the cusp of an amazing event that's going to happen to you. You're running from the land that your family hasn't left for over a generation. You're running from the land that your grandfather has been commanded to go to. What is going to happen to your relationship with Hashem? And in response to your fears, what happens? Hashem, as we know, gives you this incredible vision of a ladder stretching heavenward on which the angels, the Malachim, are going up and down. True, the Malachim, the angels who've protected you so far, are leaving. But other angels, other Malachim, other emissaries are actually coming down to accompany you on your journey. And Hashem appears to you in your dream with promises. The land on which you're lying is going to be given to you and your children. And your children will be, as we know, as numerous as the dust of the earth. And they're going to spread out, we know, west, east, north, south. And the nations of the world will be blessed through you and your descendants. But then Hashem says something revolutionary. And behold, I will be with you, and I will guard you wherever you go. And suddenly you realize, Yaakov, that your God is different. There is only one God. He's not tied to one land. He's omnipresent. He can go anywhere. He is anywhere. So you're no longer afraid. For you now know that by leaving the land, you're not leaving your God behind. He's going to be with you forever. But that makes you think, hold on a minute. If God is going to be with me wherever I go, I can be successful anywhere. Maybe I don't need a tie to the land. Hashem's everywhere. I don't need a connection to Israel. I can just go. If my task is to spread Hashem's word, then maybe I should be wandering the world. Maybe I should be going out, meeting other people. Maybe my family's need in the past for a homeland is actually gone. Maybe I've gone beyond the territorial limitations that were given to Avraham and Yitzhak. I, Yaakov, can spread the word, go to America, go to Africa. I can live the dream. But then actually Hashem continues, I will return you to this land, for I will not leave you until I've done for you everything that I've promised you. And then you actually realize that there's a different challenge. For while Hashem may be with you wherever you go, his constant presence doesn't release Yaakov from the obligation to return to the land of Israel. Only in Israel, there and only there, will his relationship with Hashem be complete. There and only there can Yaakov fulfill his destiny. And he's told that his relationship with Hashem is going to be, defined by tension. He will live under Hashem's protection wherever he is, but he will fully relate to Hashem only within the land of Israel. He may succeed elsewhere, but your destiny remains for you within the homeland. So that's why I think Yaakov wakes up in the morning and says, Hashem, if you truly will be with me wherever I go, if I am successful in everything I do in exile, then I promise you, I'm not going to misunderstand. I'm not going to assume that my success in Galut, in exile, means that I have to remain there. I promise I will return to the home of my father, and given the opportunity, I will come back to the land. Now, think about it. What's happened to all of us? For centuries, we have retained a deep belief in Hashem's constant presence. Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. Given the opportunity, we have succeeded in land after land. We've contributed well beyond our numbers to the societies in which we live. And yet, we've always kept that dream to return to the land of Israel. And we live, of course, at a time where that return is possible. That return is feasible. Yaakov's vow should be there to challenge us. How we respond is entirely up to us. I wish you all a good week. 10 seconds over.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much for that.